The New Year observed and celebrated in the month of January has many abstract and esoteric meanings, none of which are ordained by the Most High. The earliest recorded festivities observed as the start of a new year date back some 4,000 years to ancient Babylon. For the Babylonians, the first new moon following the vernal equinox, the day in late March with an equal amount of sunlight and darkness, herald the start of a new year. They mark the occasion with a massive religious festival called Akitu, derived from the Sumerian word for barley, which was cut in the spring, that involved a different ritual on each of its 11 days. In addition to the new year, Akitu celebrated the mythical victory of the Babylonian sky god, Marduk, over the evil sea goddess Tiamat, and served an important political purpose. It was during this time that a new king was crowned, or that the current ruler's divine mandate was symbolically renewed. In the 3rd millennium BCE, the Sumerian population of southern Mesopotamia celebrated the festival of the sowing of barley. It was celebrated in the first month of the year, that is, in March-April. In the Babylonian calendar, this month was also known as Nisanu, and in the modern Jewish calendar is still called Nisan. Since the festival was celebrated on the first days of the Babylonian year, we can call it a New Year's festival. In fact, the ancient Babylonians already called it beginning of the year. The festival was celebrated on 2 locations in Babylon, in the temple of the supreme god Marduk, the Esagila, and the house of the New Year, which was situated north of the city. The 2 gods who were in the center of the festival were Nabu and his father, the supreme god Marduk, who was in the 1st millennium BCE usually called Bel or Baal, meaning Lord, because his real name was considered too holy to be pronounced. The Akitu festival continued for centuries, and not only in Babylon. In Palmyra, the temple of Baal was inaugurated on the same date as Akitu. At the beginning of the 3rd century CE, it was still celebrated in Emesa, in Syria, to honor the god Elagabal. The Roman Emperor Heliogabalus even introduced the festival in Italy. Throughout antiquity, civilizations around the world developed increasingly sophisticated calendars, typically pinning the first day of the year to an agricultural or astronomical event. In Egypt, for instance, the year began with the annual flood of the Nile, which coincided with the rising of the star Sirius. The first day of the Chinese New Year, meanwhile, occurred with the 2nd new moon after the winter solstice. And then as time passes, January 1st becomes the New Year's Day. In Daniel 7:25, we see that the ruling agents would claim legislative authority so as to change times and laws, clearly referring to a man-made system that would hide established times and laws of the Most High. But why? What are they trying to hide? Genesis 1:14-18. And Elohim said, "Let lights come to be in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth." And it came to be so, and Elohim made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars also. And Elohim set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. The early Roman calendar consisted of 10 months and 304 days, which each new year beginning at the vernal equinox. According to tradition, it was created by Romulus, the founder of Rome, in the 8th century BC. A later king, Numa Pompilus, is credited with adding the months of Januarius and Februarius. Did you know? In order to realign the Roman calendar with the sun, Julius Caesar had to add 90 extra days to the year 46 BC when he introduced his new Julian calendar. This ancient Julian calendar, which went through a few refinements in the year 1582 by Roman Catholic Pope Gregory XIII, is now known as the Gregorian calendar. In medieval Europe, Christian leaders temporarily replaced January 1st as the first of the year with days carrying more religious significance, such as December 25th, the anniversary of Jesus' birth, and March 25th, the Feast of Annunciation. Pope Gregory XIII re-established January 1st as the New Year's Day in 1582. The practice of making resolutions for the new year is thought to have first caught on among the ancient Babylonians, who made promises in order to earn the favor of the gods and start the year off on the right foot. They would reportedly vow to pay off debts and return borrowed farm equipment. January 1st, however, remains from more than 2,000 years ago as the beginning of the Roman year and creation of the Roman Empire. Janus, the Roman god of doors, gates, and transitions. The month of January is named after an ancient Roman god named Janus, who was the Roman god of doorways and archways, depicted as having two faces, as the Romans believed he looked at the future as well as the past. In Roman mythology, Janus acted as the supreme mediator between two pathways, which expressed itself in duality. Janus was therefore deified as the god of dual dimensions. Janus was known among the Romans as the initiator of human life, transformations between stages of life, and shifts from one historical era to another. According to Roman mythology, Janus was present at the beginning of the world. As the god of gates, Janus guarded the gates of heaven and held access to heaven and other gods. For this reason, Janus was often invoked first in ancient Roman religious ceremonies and during public sacrifices. Offerings were given to Janus before any other deity. His insignia were thus the keys which opened and closed the door, and the stick virga, which porters employed to drive away those who had no right to cross the threshold. His two faces, Janus bifrons, allowed him to observe both the exterior and interior of the house and the entrances and the exits of public buildings. Janus was also called Chaos at the time when air, fire, water, and earth were all a formless mass. When the elements separated, Chaos took on the form of Janus. His two faces represented the confusion of his original state. For this reason, the Romans ascribed to him an essential role in the creation of the world. To them, he was Janus Pater, the father of gods. Now that we know the origins of these traditions, do we continue to celebrate them?